At 18, I'm an alcoholic. After heartbreak, I started drinking nightly to cope. Little did I know it would change my life forever. Hello, Reddit. I intend to share my emotional struggles over the years, which I believe have led to my current state. I will do my best to present everything in chronological order while including as many details as possible. At the age of 15, I entered a relationship with a girl from my school. For the sake of this post, I will refer to her as Sam. She was also 15, and we had attended the same school since our freshman year. We decided to start dating after developing a strong friendship and following her breakup with her previous partner. We experienced some incredible moments together, relaxing at home, going on picnic dates, and everything else you might imagine. Being young, we didn't have many chances to be alone together, but when we did, things progressed as one would expect. It would be an understatement to say I had a wonderful life during that period. Fast forward to the summer of 2022. We are both now 16 years old. Sam typically travels during the summer to spend time with her father, who lives in a different state, as she resides with her mother. Her parents are divorced, while her father serves in the military. This arrangement was normal for us, and although we had previously disagreed about her moving to be with him given that her situation with her mother was less than satisfactory, she chose not to relocate at that time. The reasoning behind this was that we were both dual-enrolled in a college program while still in high school, and I wanted her to complete her degree first, as it was a significant opportunity. For those unfamiliar, in the United States, certain high schools known as early college are selected through a lottery system for students who apply. These institutions offer an associate's degree at no cost in collaboration with a community college. I dropped her off at the airport in early June. While Sam was at her father's home, her stepmother, whom I will refer to as Sharon, accessed her phone and found some messages exchanged between us. Initially, Sharon took the phone incident as a joke, but things escalated when I apparently sent a message while she had the device. Sharon and Sam had a tendency to engage in activities that upset Sam's mother, who has a reputation for being difficult and would have disapproved of their actions. After reviewing the messages, Sharon recommended that Sam begin using birth control for her own well-being and to provide peace of mind during intimate moments. We ultimately opted for the implant, as it was a more manageable option than the pill, which requires consistent taking. This choice suited Sam's busy lifestyle and statistically offered more protection than other methods. The implantation process went smoothly while Sam was still on vacation with her father. To my knowledge, I had a positive rapport with Sharon. We conversed during video calls between Sam and me, and she never expressed any dislike for me. After visiting her father, Sam returned in early August, and everything seemed fine. I picked her up from the airport with my mom, and she stayed over since it was already past midnight, and Sam's mother consented. The following morning, both my parents were out of the house, likely at work. Sam slept on the couch, so I went downstairs to wake her up. We planned to spend the day at the neighborhood pool, and with no one else at home, we engaged in intimate relations before leaving. This is where things began to deteriorate. Shortly after Sam's return, she started to lose interest in intimacy. I didn't understand the reason for this until some time later, and I now suspect it may have been a direct consequence of the implant, given the strength of our relationship prior. We began to argue more often and drifted apart, spending less time together. This pattern continued for another year until early summer 2023. Although we were still together, I believed we were happy, or so I thought. I hadn't shared a passionate embrace with Sam in months, and our phone calls had become less regular, although we still communicated frequently via text and maintained a positive dynamic. We were not constantly fighting or harboring resentment. We still appreciated each other's company, and I could not pinpoint any reason to be upset with Sam. As before, I dropped Sam off at the airport for her visit to her father during the summer. Unbeknownst to me, this would be the last time I or anyone else from my state would see her. We called nearly every day, couldn't go several hours without texting, and maintained a solid relationship while she was away. One day, I called her to discuss how I envisioned us living together once I turned 18, so we could move out and share expenses, which are quite reasonable in my area. She then revealed that she had something to confess. I responded, "Okay, what is it?" She broke up with me during the call. There were no tears or emotional outbursts, just an honest revelation. I questioned whether it was a joke, but she asserted it was not. She was moving to live with her father and would not be returning. It took time for me to grasp the reality of the situation. After our call ended, I began to sob uncontrollably. 14 months together had come to an end. At this point, I was still just 16, and this was my first experience with profound emotional distress aside from the pregnancy loss of my mother, who is very close to me. I wept for days over Sam. While driving, I often thought that none of it was real. It felt surreal, and I struggled to understand the reasons behind it, crying whenever I was alone. It took me over a month to fully accept what had transpired, and many months beyond that to open my heart to someone new. Sam severed ties with everyone, as I did not receive any messages from her mother, and all my friends were blocked by her. I remember messaging her about something a few weeks after the breakup, and her reply was simply, "Who is this?" You can imagine how that made me feel. I haven't cried since then, and I find myself less emotionally affected now than I was before this relationship. Being the last person to see Sam without knowing it would be for the final time at the airport truly impacted me. Subsequently, I entered a relationship with another girl, who I believed brought me significant happiness, and indeed she did. We created many great memories, even if our time together was much shorter than with Sam. The new girl ended our relationship to pursue someone else. When she broke up with me, I sensed it was coming, as I had already asked her to stop spending time with this other guy because it made me uncomfortable. I simply replied, "Okay," and continued with my day, knowing I wasn't going to attempt to fix things this time. She soon discovered that this new guy was not serious, quickly trying to rekindle things with me. I declined, obviously. Now, to add a final twist to my story, I would like to provide some context. I attend school and work nearly every day, often not returning home until around 10 p.m. if I'm fortunate enough to get home by 9. On weekends, I make the most of my free time when not working by finding other ways to earn money, such as assisting my neighbors or doing food deliveries to supplement my income. I use this money to maintain my vehicles, as I am fortunate to support this expensive hobby through hard work. Since I come home late, I try to complete my school assignments during any free time I have at school. I maintain as and BTECS and consider myself a responsible student. After my latest breakup, I found it surprisingly easy to access alcohol. I quickly developed a habit of drinking almost every night once I returned home from work, as it helped slow my thoughts and made it easier to avoid reflecting on the pain my relationships caused me. I suffer from severe attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which leads to me thinking about anything and everything at once, and I found that drinking alleviates this, allowing me to fall asleep easily. I no longer lie awake staring at the ceiling or scrolling through Instagram for hours to distract myself from my past. I'm aware that this coping mechanism is not ideal, but I struggle to find alternatives. I do not drink excessively, just enough to feel slightly tipsy so that I can sleep without engaging in reckless behavior. I have not been in contact with Sam since the last time I reached out to her a couple of years ago, and I hope she is doing well. I often contemplate whether she ever thinks of me or feels any regret about ending our relationship long ago. Here I am now, sharing this post, not entirely sober. Has anyone else experienced something similar? How did you cope? Thank you in advance for your support. In summary, I drink almost every night to aid in falling asleep. This is my way of managing the emotional trauma from being dumped and eliminated entirely from my ex's life. Story 2. I moved 2,500 miles to give my SIL a home, but after bathroom accidents and chaos, I'm at my limit. Should I send her back? Hello, everyone. This is quite a lengthy post. I am a 23-year-old female, and my boyfriend is a 28-year-old male. We have 2 small children together, a 5-year-old boy from a previous relationship and a 9-month-old girl. I have been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 3 years. During this time, we relocated across the country twice. While living far away from our friends and family, my boyfriend's sister, who was 15 at the time, stayed with us for a month during the summer. I grew quite close to my sister-in-law, and she shared a lot of personal details with me. To begin with, she had been moving between different living situations for the last 4 years. Her mother would send her to friends' homes and pay their parents, as well as her grandparents and her sister. It became evident that she needed more stability. We had been considering the idea of moving back home for some time, but once she left, we made our decision. We came all this way to help her and provide her with a safe environment. Consequently, we moved back 2,500 miles to take on this responsibility in October 2024. We understood that it would be challenging. Now, after just over 4 months, I feel like I am at my breaking point. We expected some behavioral problems, but we were incredibly unprepared to manage them. I do not want to expose all of her personal struggles because I have a great deal of affection for her, and the last thing I want is for her to discover this someday and feel that I ever viewed her in any light other than love. I am deeply upset about how this situation has unfolded and honestly don't believe it has been beneficial for my own children. To begin with, we do not have a separate bedroom for her. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment that is financially burdensome. My boyfriend works full-time, and now that we have settled in and our baby is older, I am planning to return to work. However, currently, we are barely making ends meet. We are using food pantries when possible, rationing our supplies and budgeting tightly. My sister-in-law expressed interest in participating in wrestling this year, so we found hundreds of extra dollars to support that endeavor. We live 30 minutes away from her school, and she pleaded with us not to transfer her. As a result, we have been driving 2 hours daily for her education. Since we welcomed her into our home, she has had 3 boyfriends and a few casual relationships, along with 1 pregnancy scare. We have scheduled an appointment for her to obtain birth control at her request next week. There have been countless instances where she has had emotional breakdowns and anxiety attacks, yet she adamantly refuses to consider therapy, despite her struggles creating significant discomfort and anxiety for everyone around her. Additionally, she has been unkind to my son, and we have both made it clear that such behavior is unacceptable. She tends to be messy, which is somewhat predictable, but some of the messes she has created are simply intolerable and revolting. I feel guilty for stating that, as I understand she did not have the guidance of parental figures to teach her better, but some of this seems like common sense. The most troubling mess involved period blood. I am referring to a trash can in our shared bathroom being overflowing with used feminine products, along with a used pad stuck to the wall next to it. I refused to remove it, and the situation persisted until my boyfriend could no longer tolerate it and took care of it himself. However, the worst incident that truly pushed me over the edge occurred during winter break. She remained home all day, every day, sleeping and lounging without showering and spending excessive time in the bathroom. One day, I was aware she was on her period because she had asked me for tampons. When I entered the bathroom, I found her hairbrush on my counter, covered in period blood and dripping everywhere. I contacted my boyfriend and sent him a photo while keeping my children in my bedroom until their father returned. He had a serious conversation with her, but given that the trash can incident occurred after that discussion, it was clear that words hadn't resonated with her. I feel particularly disturbed by this because I worry about the possibility of my children encountering something similar or, heaven forbid, touching it. Furthermore, she has been utilizing the shared bathroom for excessive periods. Last week, I reached my limit. Since having my second baby, my body has undergone many changes, one of which is that I can no longer hold my bladder for extended periods. I wake up frequently at night to use the restroom. She wakes up early to prepare for school, but spends 1.5 to 2 hours in the bathroom every day. I have requested that she complete any necessary tasks in there quickly and that she can do her makeup in other areas. I provided her with a ring light, and we have 3 different mirrors available for her use anywhere she prefers. Despite this, she refuses to comply. Last week, I woke up desperate to use the restroom. After waiting in bed for about 20 minutes, hoping she would finish soon, I reached a point where I could no longer hold it. I knocked patiently, then with increasing urgency, and eventually resorted to crying and banging on the door while loudly calling her name. I even texted and called her phone. In the end, I had an accident and wet myself. It was impossible to convey how humiliating and dehumanizing that experience was. She kept her earbuds in while doing her makeup and apparently did not hear me. This situation prompted me to write a list of rules on a whiteboard for the bathroom. The 5 rules were 1. Clean up after yourself. 2. Use only 1 towel at a time or wash them yourself. She uses 5 to 7 towels a week, and I am constantly doing laundry because she does not reuse them. 3. Spend no more than 20 minutes in the bathroom at a time. 4. If you fill the trash can, take it out. 5. Do not use items that do not belong to you. I also neglected to mention that throughout all of this, she has been using my personal care products and tools and has stolen from me, then lied about it. While I am fine with sharing most items in my bathroom, she has used my face wash and soaps, which is perfectly acceptable. However, taking my recently purchased nice perfume, absolutely not. My razors, certainly not acceptable. I have provided her with everything she requested, and even went further by converting our living room to give her some privacy. We cleared out our hall closet and bathroom drawers to make her feel more at home rather than living out of bags. In the 4 months she has lived with us, her only chores and responsibilities have been to maintain her space's tidiness, make her bed, and clean the bathroom after use. Her responsibilities here are less than those of my 5-year-old, and she fails to fulfill them. In fact, not once has she done any of these tasks without us asking. Outside of her designated responsibilities, we have only requested her assistance with other household chores 3 times. On 2 occasions, we asked her to help with the dishes, and once with the bathroom cleaning. Each time, she reacted with anger and demanded we buy her a Red Bull before she would agree to help. This did not occur, as we were simply asking her to clean a small portion of the dishes from the previous night. The other time she flatly refused and put her brother through a tough time. He eventually managed to convince her to help. She completed the bathroom task without resistance, but I truly believe her motivation stemmed from wanting to go on a date that day. She understood that if she upset her brother, he would not allow her to go anywhere. I have treated my sister-in-law with kindness and love, but I am starting to feel quite exploited. Every aspect of my life now revolves around her schedule, related to school, sports, friends, and dating, even on weekends with tournaments that are often more than an hour away. I have had no opportunity to spend quality time with my family together because every day revolves around her needs. I feel conflicted because she deserves everything we provide her and more, but I feel guilty that my own children are not happy. My son is acting out increasingly. My boyfriend and I discussed the situation yesterday, and we are seriously contemplating giving up on this arrangement. It is generating ongoing stress in our family, and I am uncertain of what to do. Is it wrong to consider sending her back to her mother, knowing the circumstances she would return to? I am feeling overwhelmed. I apologize for how disorganized this post has been. I am genuinely struggling to articulate everything, and I am not the best storyteller. I am simply seeking support and suggestions. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Story 3. Came home from a long week, found ex-GF ready to leave. She spent the weekend with another guy and denied cheating. What a twist. Hello, this marks my very first post on Reddit. I am a 25-year-old male from the Netherlands, and I recently went through a breakup with my 20-year-old Polish ex-girlfriend. She ended our 3-year relationship, during which we spent 1 year living together in the Netherlands, in a rather abrupt manner. I will break this down into 2 sections for clarity. Section 1, the breakup. On Friday evening, I returned home around 6:00 p.m. after working on a 70-hour outdoor project in another city. When I walked in, I found her fully dressed and seemingly prepared to leave, as if she wanted to depart before my arrival. She refused to disclose her plans or who she was with, only managing to whisper a quick, "I need to be alone," at the doorway. While this did not cause immediate alarm, it made me uneasy, especially since I knew she didn't have many options for places to go at that hour. I called a friend to distract me from the troubling thoughts that were flooding my mind, as I could feel an adrenaline rush building up. After imagining various scenarios about where she might be, I received a message at 11:00 p.m. stating, "I am with a girlfriend," followed by, "I will stay the night there." This certainly raised my suspicions, but I didn't want to escalate the situation, feeling too exhausted to confront her. I simply thanked her for updating me and wished her a good night. Moving on to Saturday, I was extremely anxious throughout the day. However, I learned from a mutual friend that she was heading to the sea. I didn't hear from her until 5:00 p.m., when she informed me that she would not be returning home. This only increased my concern, but I still refrained from drastic actions, as my body and mind were recovering from the week. I kept in touch with mutual friends for updates and eventually tried to force myself to sleep, believing she was capable of making her own decisions. Sunday was the significant day. Once again, I didn't receive any word from her, so I continued texting mutual friends to discuss whether we should search for her. Eventually, she returned home in the evening, looking utterly disoriented. Things happened quickly at that point. She sat down, I sat down, and before I could pose a question, she announced the end of our relationship. It turned out she had used the week I was away to reflect. She admitted to feeling as though she had been forcing herself into the relationship for several months and was no longer being genuine. Our differing cultural backgrounds clashed significantly, and she expressed dissatisfaction with our communication in English, despite her plans to take language courses through her job. After a brief conversation lasting around 10 minutes, she left again to stay with that girlfriend. That encapsulates the breakup moment and the main factors leading to it. If you have questions for more details, feel free to ask. Now, let's move on to section 2, which addresses my primary reason for posting. You might have sensed it already from that Friday evening when she seemed ready to leave until her return home on Sunday night, followed by her subsequent departure. It all appeared as a tangled web of deception on her part. On Monday evening, I found 2 unfamiliar pairs of men's boxers on the drying rack. Shortly after this discovery, she began packing her belongings. Upon noticing that I had found the boxers, she claimed she had intentionally placed them there for me to discover them. This revelation opened the door for her to finally confess the truth. She revealed that on Friday, she met a Polish coworker with whom she had been texting for several weeks. They spent Friday night in a car and Saturday night in a hotel. She took his boxers and all the other clothes they used at the hotel to wash at home. On Sunday, after we officially ended our relationship, she went to his house and engaged in physical intimacy. Although she did not specify when this happened, she insists that it occurred only after our breakup. I find it alarming and wonder, did I just experience infidelity? She denies it, claiming there was no physical contact before the official breakup on Sunday. I struggle to accept this reasoning since they had already spent several nights together. However, let's suspend disbelief for a moment. She believes that the weeks of texting do not count as emotional infidelity. Our final exchange before she left was as follows her argument. There was no physical contact before the official breakup on Sunday, so it's not cheating. My counterpoint, during the time you still had a partner, you were becoming emotionally connected to another man, which must have created tension through all those weeks of communication. How else could you find it so easy to hook up with him after the breakup? So, to circle back to the central question, did my ex-girlfriend cheat, and why is the answer yes? I seek meaningful perspectives from others outside our close circles to help her realize the denial she is in and avoid further entanglement of people around her. This situation has already caused tension among mutual friends, and sides are being taken without my input. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Feel free to ask any questions. Update, I have come to realize that the man involved did the same thing. He was also planning to exit his own relationship. Both seemed reluctant to end things appropriately. I am now fully convinced that this was a premeditated arrangement that had been developing over several weeks. They are currently waiting for his ex to move out before commencing their life together. By conveying her version of events, she has managed to persuade her mother and aunt, one of whom is a close friend of mine, not to view this as cheating, which has caused significant tension within both families and our social circles. I anticipate that some of my relationships and the perspectives of those I was once close with will change, but if that is what needs to happen, then so be it. Update 2, after further research into the concept of monkey branching and hearing stories that align with my situation, I have concluded that my ex engaged in this very behavior. She initiated an emotional and mental connection with another person while still in a relationship with me, only prioritizing me when she was certain she had a safety net in place regarding her living situation. People have afforded me the opportunity to express my side of the story, which revolves around this notion of monkey branching. Now, these individuals will determine how to proceed with both narratives. Some have chosen to distance themselves from me, while others have distanced themselves from her. However, I am grateful that most have remained neutral. Through this post, I've found a way to articulate my experience and the intense emotions I have faced over the past few days. While I cannot claim that those feelings have vanished, I have managed to share them constructively with the people close to me, which was the objective of this post. This will aid in my recovery. Thank you all, especially those who mentioned monkey branching. Your insights have substantially assisted me in conveying my story. I will no longer provide updates or respond to comments on this post. You are welcome to send me a private message if you wish to know more or simply check in on how I'm doing.